when you are given a property to value, the first thing is to find out which interest are you valuing. One of the first things you will do is to find out whether you are valuing freehold interest or leasehold interest. The topic we are now looking at is valuation of freehold interest. And in the valuation of freehold interest, the first one we are looking at is the freehold interest that is let at full rental value. You know, some properties are let at full rental value. Some are let at less than full rental value. Then for some, the rent is varying from time to time. These are the three situations I want us to look at. For full rental value, the first thing to do is to remember the investment method of valuation formula, which says net income times YP is equal to capital value. I believe you guys are conversant with that type of formula. So when you are asked to value a property, the first thing to do is to determine the net income. To determine the net income. Valuations are not done with gross income. They are done with net income. That is one. Valuation has to be done with net income. Number two, it is important that you remember that the net income we are talking about is income for 1 year. Income for 1 year. So, if you read the question and you find out that the income that was given is not for 1 year, you need to convert the income to income for 1 year. And what do we mean by that? Some people pay monthly rent. If it is monthly rent, you convert it to a yearly rent by multiplying by 12. Some people pay quarterly. If it is a quarterly income, you have to multiply by 4 to make it yearly. Some people pay weekly. If it is a weekly income, you have to multiply it by 52 to make it income for 1 year. Some people pay daily. If it's a daily income, then you have to multiply it by 365 to make it income for 1 year. Then some people pay half yearly. You have to multiply it by 2 to make it income for 1 year. So it's important that you remember that, one, we value with net income, not gross income. Two, we value with income for 1 year. You must be sure that what we are using is income for 1 year. The next one is that any income that is expired is not taken into consideration in valuation. Any income that has expired is not considered in valuation. In valuation also, the income, you need to be sure whether it is rent received, rent reserved, or rent to be received, or anticipated rent. You also have to check whether the rent is real or notional. The rent is real when it has been collected, but the rent is notional when it may not be possible to collect it. I have explained earlier that an owner-occupier does not pay rent, but it doesn't mean that you cannot use investment method to value his property. It's very important that you remember that. Okay. After you have determined the net income, the next thing, for you to determine the net income, you deduct outgoings. You deduct outgoings. And in our previous lecture, we mentioned the items that make up outgoings. If you have a valuation problem, all the outgoings may not be included in your valuation problem, but it is for you to know which ones and to carefully use it. For the landlord, outgoings are deducted. For the landlord, outgoings are deducted. So any item of outgoing except internal repairs. I repeat, any item of outgoing except internal repairs for the landlord is usually deducted. You deduct. If we are able to get to leasehold valuation, you will see that for the tenant, all items of outgoings are added to his rent. Please, this is very, very important. You need to note it very well. For the landlord, outgoings are deducted from his rent. But for tenants, outgoings are added to their rent. Added to their rent. So we deduct the outgoings. Once we deduct outgoings, that brings us to the net income. The next thing is to choose the appropriate YP. The next thing is to choose the appropriate YP. In choosing the appropriate YP, like I said before, we have to choose a YP table. And for the landlord, once it is a full rental value, once it is full rental value that you are valuing, the YP to be used is YP in PEP. YP in perpetuity. I tried to explain in the previous topic. When you are valuing full rental value, automatically you should know that you should use YP in PEP. Because some people find it difficult to know when to use the different tables of YP. Once you see that what you are valuing is full rental value, then remember to use YP in perpetuity. But whenever you are valuing a rent that is less than full rental value, remember, any rent that is less than full rental value, you use YP single rate. YP single rate. But if you are valuing a rent that is head rent, less than full rental value, after which we revert to perpetuity, reversionary interest. If we are valuing a reversionary interest, then the YP we must use is the YP of a reversion to perpetuity. For the YP rate, there are a number of ways you can determine the YP rate. There are a number of ways you can determine the YP rate. The YP rate can be determined by using the YP formula. YP formula. The YP formula says rent over capital value. Rent over capital value. Whatever rate you get is the term. But if you use the full rental value over capital value, whatever rate you get is for the reversion. I repeat, YP formula, assuming you are given a question, the examiner did not put any YP to be used. He didn't put any YP. And you are expected to value a property with a YP. But instead of giving you a YP, he puts a similar property. And in that similar property, he gives you the rent and gives you the capital value. Gives you the rent and gives you the capital value. What it means is that you have to divide the rent with the capital value to arrive at the appropriate YP. For instance, please pick a calculator where you are. Pick a calculator. Use your phone for a calculator, or pick a calculator where you are. Let us assume that the rent passing in a property is 350,000 naira. 350,000 naira. The rent passing in a property is 350,000. And a similar property in the neighborhood has been recently sold for 7 million naira. Similar property within the neighborhood was recently sold for 7 million naira. If you want to determine the YP from that transaction, it becomes rent, which is 350,000, divided by 7 million naira. If you do the calculation, you will see that it will give you 0.05. 0.05. And in calculation, in our valuation mathematics, you don't need to be told that 0.05 is 5%. 0.05 is the same thing as 5%. 0.05 is the same thing as 5%. So you can now see that an examiner may decide not to give you a YP, but he will give you information that will help you to work out the YP. And whenever you hear that a similar property which commands a rent of so and so amount was recently sold for so and so amount, then it means that the examiner wants you to work out your own YP. The same way in practice, you don't assume your own YP. You try to work out a YP by finding out the rent passing in a property and how much similar property was recently sold. If you do that, you are being an objective valuer. If you don't want to use the YP formula, the next one is to assume. That is number 2 on your screen, assumption. You assume a YP. Valuers have said that those who assume YPs are valuers by intuition. Valuers by intuition, meaning that you are being personal. You are using what is personal to you. If you want to be objective, you use what is available in the market. Find the rent, find the capital value of similar properties, and divide and get the YP. So if you are assuming, then valuers say that the best thing to do is to look at the qualities of a good investment. How good is that investment? And when you look at the qualities of a good investment, there are a number of things you must take into consideration. Number 1, security of income. Is the income secured. Number two, you must look at regularity of income. How regular is the income? Number three, the visibility of holding. Is it possible to subdivide the holding? The visibility of holding. The next one, ease of investing money and withdrawing money. Ease of investing money and withdrawing money. How easy to invest and to withdraw money. Ease of investment and withdrawing money. The next one is transferability. Can the interest be transferred? Can the investment be transferred? Transferability. Can it be transferred? The next one is value of the investment. How is the investment valued? How do people value the investment? I'm not sure I have exhausted the qualities of a good investment. I just try to remember the few ones I can remember, but there are so many others. So with these qualities, you check the investment you are valuing. You check the investment you are valuing and then assume a YP. In most textbooks, they will say if it is a residential property, use between 7 and 9. If it is a commercial property, use between 5 and 7. If it is an agricultural property, use between 8 and 9. Well, just like I said before, all those things are guides. They are just trying to guide you. The correct thing is that the valuer is the master. You are the one to determine what is correct. And if you want to follow me, then the best thing to do is to explore the marketplace. Use the YP formula. Find out a property within the neighborhood that has been sold recently. The property was sold for this amount. Then try to find out the rent that was passing in the property before it was sold. You get it, divide the rent with the capital value. Immediately you come up with the correct YP. The third method of getting a YP is that you may be given a YP, especially in the exam questions. Use YP of 5%, use YP of 10%, use YP of 8%. It means that the YP has been given. So if you have been able to determine the net income and you are now able to determine the YP, the last stage in this method is to capitalize. That is net income times YP is equal to capital value. Net income times YP is equal to capital value. So, example 1, valuation of interest let at full rental value. Valuation of interest let at full rental value. Example 1, Mr. Dayo is the owner of number 21 Alien Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos. Mr. Dayo is the owner of number 21 Alien Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos. The property is a block of 6 numbers, 3-bedroom flats. The property is a block of 6 numbers, 3-bedroom flat. Mr. Dayo currently receives full rental value of 1.5 million naira per flat. Per annum net. Per flat per annum net. Assume a YP of 6%. Hence, determine the value of Mr. Dayo's interest. Assume a YP of 6% and determine the value of Mr. Dayo's interest. Assume a YP of 6% and determine the value of Dayo's interest. Whenever you are given a problem, don't rush into the solution. Try to understand the problem first. It is when you have understood the problem that you will try to dabble into it. And the first port of call, I need you to write it down. Whose interest am I valuing? And if you look at that, you will see that the question says, determine the value of Mr. Dayo's interest. My brother. Determine the value of Mr. Dayo's interest. And the first sentence says, Mr. Dayo is the owner of the property. The last sentence says, determine the value of Mr. Dayo's interest. So without being told, you are valuing the interest of the owner of the property. The owner of the property is usually a freeholder. A freeholder. And valuing anything, whether freehold, whether leasehold, whether full rental value, whether less than full rental value, the investment method of valuation formula is net income times YP equal to capital value. So your responsibility is to determine the net income. After that, you try to choose the correct YP. After that, you multiply the YP with the net income. Whatever you have is the capital value. For you to be able to do your valuation well, I always advise that you do an analysis. And I taught my students to do the analysis in a line chart, what I call the line chart. And if you look at that line chart, you will see that the interest started in 2020 and runs in perpetuity. See the arrow. The arrow of the chart is writing PEP, showing that the interest runs in perpetuity. Whenever you are looking at full rental value, full rental value is usually valued in perpetuity. If you look at the second sentence again, you will see that the property is a block of 6 numbers, 3-bedroom flats. Mr. Dayo currently receives a full rental value. The question was very clear on it. Full rental value. So if you look at our analysis, the net income is 1.5 million naira multiplied by 6 flats, because the question says a block of 6 numbers, 3-bedroom flats. If one flat is 1.5 million, Then 6 plus will be 1.5 multiplied by 6. That will give us 9 million. I stated very clearly there, from the 9 million, there is no deduction because the question already says that the rent is net. The question already says that the rent is net. The question already says that the rent is net. The question already says that the rent is net. So because of that, it will not be necessary to deduct another outgoings because the rent is net already. You will also see that under the YP column, under that line chart, we wrote 6%. The reason is because the question gave us 6%. The question gave us 6%. Number of years, we were not given a number of years, rather the rent will run in perpetuity. We have all the information we need. The net income is there, 9 million naira. The YP is there, 6%. And we have the number of years, which is perpetuity. The valuation proper. The format you see on your screen is the valuation format. If you don't present your valuation in this format, and you're my student in school, you will lose some marks. The reason why you will lose some marks is that if you don't form the habit of putting your valuation in this format, you will see that when the chips are down, you will present a valuation that is not formatted. Remember, in the university, you were asked to take a course in accounts, accounts 101 and 102. One of the reasons why you are asked to take that course is for you to be able to handle money. To be able to handle money, know how to receive and pay money. But another one that is very important is to be sure that you present your work in accounting format. And that means you will have a column for the comments. The left-hand side is comments. The other side is the area where you do the valuation. But you will see that that area has a heading, valuation of Mr. Dio's freehold interest. Every valuation must have a heading, and the heading must tell us the interest you are trying to value. The first thing in the valuation is to present your net income. And that net income is 9 million naira. Please, I hope you are listening. It is very important.
Yes, sir, we are listening.
It is very important. You will see that behind the 9 million naira, I wrote per annum. Per annum. And that goes to confirm that the rent you must use in valuation is 1 year rent. 1 year rent. If we don't see that per annum, then we don't know what you are using. Whether you are using 1 month rent, quarterly rent, half yearly rent, or any other thing. But when we see that per annum, we know that you understand that valuation should be done with rent for 1 year. On the comment side, you can now see how I arrived at the 9 million. 1.5 million multiplied by 6, which gave us 9 million. And you can see that that information was given in the question. I wrote it there, given in the question. It is given. So, under exam conditions, some people say they are in a hurry. But that comment shows immediately how you arrive at your net income. If I'm marking and I see 9 million, but I didn't see the comment on how you arrive at 9 million, I will assume that you copied. I will assume that you copied. You will lose some marks. Immediately after the net income, the next thing to present is your YP. And you can see how I presented it. YP in PEP at 6%. YP in PEP at 6%. Not minding all the big grammars we are speaking. Whenever you are asked to determine YP in PEP, whenever you are asked to determine YP in PEP, the formula is simply 1 over I. All you need to do is to divide 100 with the YP you are given. It's usually very simple. Divide 100 with the YP you are given. If you have your calculator there, you don't need to go far. Just use your calculator. Say 100 divided by 6. That gives you the YP in PEP. If it is 5%, 100 divided by 5 to give you the YP. And you can see that if you do 100 divided by if you do 100 divided by 6, it will give you 16.6666666. Valuation is usually done with 4 decimal places. 4 decimal places. So if you are writing, always make sure you get to the 4th decimal place. So you can see how I arrive at 16.6667. 16.6667. Then on the column, on the comment side, you can see what I did there. 1 over I, that is the formula for finding YP in PEP. That is the formula for finding YP in PEP. Then I in that formula is represented by 6. And that 6 was given. It was given in the question. It was given. If we had used the YP formula, what I would have written there is generated from with YP formula. If I assume the YP, I would have written their assumption so that whoever looks at your work understand exactly what you are doing. Then the next step is to determine the capital value. 9 million naira multiplied by 16.6667. That will give us 150,300,000 naira. 150,300,000 naira. You can now see that we can approximate in that figure, because 300 naira is less than half. If half is 5, then 500 naira would have been more equal to half. We said approximate to 150 million. Approximate to 150 million. You can now also see that on the comment side, the capital value, I showed that how we arrive at the capital value is net income times YP. These are the details that show that you know exactly what we are doing. I will stop now to take questions because this is the simplest valuation anybody can do. And if you don't understand anything here, I don't think you will understand the complex ones. If you ask questions on what you are seeing on your screen, then I can catch you before we leave you behind. If you have a question, please try and ask. If you can't ask a question, you can send a text message on this calculation. On this calculation. If you don't have any questions, then you can
Hello,
say
sir.
and we can go.
Hello,
Yes,
sir.
I'm listening.
Okay, sir. I got the whole thing, but the capital value, which is 115, 115,000, 115,000,
million.
150 million, 300, 300. But you say 150 million. So does it mean that we should just round it up to make it 150 million? Or how, sir?
That's what I just said. In evaluation, you do approximation.
Okay.
You do approximation. If the figure is high enough, you can bring it to the nearest figure, whether it is above or below.
Okay, sir.
There's another example we'll do now. You will see another type of approximation. You can also ask, you will see, ask why I did it, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Sir, question, please.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Why? How do you know that we're supposed to use YP in PAP for this particular question? What makes?
Have you been listening to my lecture?
No, sir. This is my first time.
Just joined.
I just joined.
That is the problem. YP in PEP, there are 4 YP tables.
Yes,
there are
sir.
4 of them. One is YP in PEP.
Yes, sir.
Another one is YP single rate.
Yes, sir.
Another one is YP of a reversion to perpetuity.
Reversion.
That three, those 3 must be used to value landlord's interest. Whenever you are using those 3, it must be for landlord. It is not used for tenant. It can never be used for tenant. Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Then the next one is the last one is the YP impaired. Sorry, YP dual rate.
Dual rate.
YP dual rate is used for tenant. You can never use YP dual rate for the landlord.
Okay.
You know, there's an offense you commit. There's an offense you commit, and it is capital punishment. Do you know what is capital punishment?
Death.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, we know.
What is it?
Yes, sir.
Death sentence.
Death sentence.
Life imprisonment.
If you no, not life imprisonment, or death sentence.
It's death.
It's death
sentence. It's death sentence. Yeah.
Yes. In valuation, we will give you capital punishment when you make the mistake of using landlord's YP for tenant or tenant's YP for landlord. I will not forgive you.
Okay, sir.
So, landlord's YP are 3. 3. YP in PEP, YP of a reversion to PEP, and YP single rate. They are for landlord.
Okay,
YP dual rate is for tenant. Did you get that?
Yes, I do, sir.
Adeosun, I hope it's your voice. I'm listening.
Yes, it's my voice, sir. It's my voice, sir.
Good. So it's important that you remember that. Okay, for the landlord, there are 3. So the question is, when do we use which? Good.
Yes, sir.
I tried to explain it before you joined. Number 1, YP in PEP can only be used when you understand that the landlord is collecting a rent that is full rental value. Once you understand that rent the landlord is collecting is full rental value, you must use YP in a PEP.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Number 2, if you find out that the rent the landlord is collecting is not up to full rental value, it is less than full rental value, that rent is called the head rent. Write it down. Head rent.
Head rent.
Head, like I'm pointing to my head.
Okay, sir. Head
Head
rent.
rent. Good. Head rent is a rent that is less than full rental value. So when a landlord is collecting a rent that is less than full rental value, that rent must be valued with YP single rate.
Wait.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir. What's the difference between head rent and rack rent, sir?
Rack rent is full rental value.
It's full rental value now.
Rack rent is full rental value.
Rental value, yes, sir.
Head rent is rent that is less than full rental value. When a landlord collects a rent, yes?
I said reservement.
Lukman,
Sir, I said reservement. Are we also call it?
I didn't get you, Lukman.
He's asking if reserve rent is head rent.
No, rack rent is full rental value. Rack
not
rent.
racks, reserve.
Reserve head rent.
Reserve.
Hello, sir.
Reserved rent. Okay, reserved rent can also be rent that is less than full rental value.
Yes.
But the best way you can find out is to look at the question and see whether there are different rents that the landlord collects. If they gave rents and also gave full rental value, if they gave two rents, the rents that the tenant is paying and what the full rental value is, you will see that because there are two rents, one is head rent, the other one is full rental value. You get the point.
Thank you very much for this point.
Hello, sir. Hello,
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me? Hello, sir.
Yes.
We can hear you.
I can hear you.
In the question, sir, we were told that the landlord,
Yes.
that is Mr. Dayo, receives full rental value of 1.5 million per annum net. It was not stated that it was not stated per flat.
Yeah, if you listen to me when I was reading the question, I noticed that there's a typographical error there.
Okay.
1.5 million per flat.
Okay. But should in case we see something like this in exam, and we're giving the numbers of flats,
if you see something like this in exam, then it's not a typographical error.
Okay.
Why I'm saying is a typographical error is that you can see that my calculation did not recognize it as just 1.5 million.
Yes.
Do you understand me?
Yes, sir. So
okay.
Reversion, sir. When do you do reversion?
Good. The reversion. When there is a reversionary interest. And remember, I want to give you a tip. Whenever you see reversion for landlord, the landlord must revert to full rental value. Quote me anytime, any day. When you see reversion for landlord, it is usually reversion to full rental value. Now, the landlord cannot enjoy a reversion until the rent he has collected has expired. That means the landlord has collected some rent and he's waiting for reversion. The reversion is still in the future. The reversion is yet to come. So when
Hello?
He lost his network. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
He lost his network.
Hello, sir.
Let's wait for him to return.
Huh?
He'll be back.
Can't hear you. Hello everyone. Please, can anybody
I know,
explain
thinking fun.
what reversion?
That's another point.
Hello.
Hello, they've answered you now.
Okay, I'm going to understand.
Hello. Please, can anybody explain actually what reversion is for me? Because he actually said that the landlord waits for reversion because of the interest. So what exactly?
Property is to return back to the landlord. So that is it's reversing back to him.
Okay, like reverting to the landlord.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, after the head rent.
Has expired.
Please,
Just
while
as after the
we are
head rent has expired.
there's this question. I don't know if you can be handling it before the man will come regain his
Go
network.
ahead.
He said,
Go ahead while we are waiting.
The question says, Mr. Ere,
I'm hearing you.
are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mr. Ere is a tenant that holds Econ, Alai, commercial complex, bracket,
Yeah, they remain.
bracket, a property that consists of shops and offices, suits, close bracket, on a lease in Abuja, Central Area District, for 40 years. Are you getting it?
Continue.
Yes.
Release all the interest.
Go ahead.
What do you say?
Go ahead.
40 years, which was granted 24 years ago. Full stop. He desired to surrender. Full stop. 24 years ago. 24 years ago, full stop. He desired to surrender his lease and wished to obtain a fresh lease. At the same rent. Full stop. The rent reserve under the present lease is 2 million naira per annum. Full stop. The full rental value.
Wait. Come again.
Continue.
Hello? The
Yes,
full
go
rental
ahead.
value. The full rental value.
Rent reserved on the present.
Lease is 2 million naira per annum. Full stop. The full rental value is 8 million naira per annum. Full stop. The question now is, what premium is reasonable on the property? Adopt a yield. What premium is reasonable? Premium is reasonable on the property.
Okay.
Then bracket, adopt a yield of 8%. Yield of 8% for the tenant and the 7.5% for the landlord. Respective interest. Also,
Respective interest.
yes. Also, assume ASF, annual sinking fund, at 2.5 and the tax of 40%. That is all.
This is surrender and renewal. Tax of 40 kobo.
Yes, yes.
40%.
Okay. The first thing you need to understand is that it's surrender and renewal.
Yes.
Now you have to calculate, you have to compute for both the lessor and the lessee. Do you get that?
Yes.
So for the lessee, you have to check the rent receivable and the rent payable to get your profit rent.
We have to know that it will have 16 years unexpired time. That's what we are using.
40.
16 years.
No.
40
minus
Yeah,
4
that's
years.
16 years.
You minus 40, you minus 24.
The unexpired, okay.
We are using for the unexpired.
Yes.
Okay, for the present interest, we are using 60 years. While for the proposed, we are using the 40 years.
40 years.
You can explain.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah. No, yeah. Everything is wrong.
Okay, another lead. 40 years. Okay.
Hello?
That's speaking from the landlord's point of view, like she rightly said.
Yes.
Hello, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, I missed some previous because I was sick, so I don't know how to get the lectures to update my.
Are you on the group chat?
No, I was not on the group chat.
Please, my good friend,
So
what is that your name?
let me give you my number so that you can put me on your group chat so that I will have more information. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Okay, my number is 080.
Somebody will just send the link to you. Just check the link.
The message.
Nobody knows my number. That is why I want to give you my number. My number is 080. Yes.
Listen. Just use the link from the chat.
Go to the message site now.
Go to the message site. You see the link.
Okay, I've seen it.
Yes, click on it.
What is my sister? What is that your name, please?
Rose.
Rose. Have you gotten it? Have you gotten
Click
it?
that link.
Tell us now.
Please, is Rose Khartoum in the house?
Yes, I'm in the house, Mr. Benjamin.
Okay. Why have
Yes,
thou
sir.
forsaken me?
Sorry, sir. Mabini. Yes, sir.
Okay, it's well.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, sir.
You are saying something before. I want to get the answer. Are you solving it?
Yes, ma'am. I'm doing that.
Well, solve it and let us know.
And now others too can be trying in case of anything.
Okay.
We are not trying anything. Solve it yourself.
Can you come again with the question?
The question?
Yeah.
Okay. The question said I should start afresh.
Just the key points. If you can get the key point, if you can extract the key point.
Okay. He said the Mr. Ere is a tenant that holds
Propose YP 40 years.
that holds Econ Array commercial corporates.
Hello?
Hello? I can't go to hello. I'm hearing you.
Hello, please. What year are they treating? Please.
What? Are you with us?
Yeah. Yeah. What? I didn't start from the beginning.
Can you just send the question to the WhatsApp group now?
Can you hear me?